Hello, I'm Amanda Bradbury, and I'm going to talk to you about the corridor of time that we're now moving into in terms of colour and astrology. And the beginning point is today, on the 28th of July, with the new moon in Leo, which becomes exact at 1855 today. And this leads through the 8/8 and through to the full moon in Aquarius, which happens on the 12th of August at 2:36 UK time. So now this, it feels very significant, very powerful, very strong energy, and a time to really make the most of this time. But it also feels that we almost need to be ready for it. And so there may be some cleansing needed. There may be some issues, some patterns that come up within us that we need to look at in order for us to be really ready to make the most of this gateway of energy. And something that alerted me really to the significance of the corridor of energy was that I had an experience at my cottage in the UK. I wasn't there at the time, but there was incredibly heavy rain, like a deluge of rain, almost like a monsoon. And water poured in down the garden, through the back door, under the door, and all down the corridor towards the front door. So covering the carpet, which is quite new, with this kind of muddy rainwater. And so I take from this two messages. One is that it's really pointing out the corridor of time. It's drawing our attention to this, but it's also a message that it's like we need to be ready for this time. We need to prepare and to think about perhaps cleansing or being aware of emotions that are coming up or patterns that are being triggered, because it's a very highly activated time. And it could be that there's some outside interference as well. So it could be that this interference is coming up from within ourselves, or it could even be that it's coming from outside as well. So this is something else to consider. So first of all, we have the new moon today in Leo. And so Leo is heart energy. So it's very big-hearted, it's loving, very strong, fiery energy, and it forms a creative connection to Jupiter in Aries. And so this almost like fans the flames even more. So it's very enthusiastic. There's quite a lot of joy in it. And it's dynamic as well. So, and it's a time when we could really feel this sense of forward movement and things happening. You know, it could feel busy. And there's a lot of excitement about, also passion. It's a very passionate energy. But just a couple of things that bring in a slightly different energy. And one of them is the fact that it is a new moon, so it's delicate. So it's almost like we need to tread carefully. We need to, it's like sowing seeds. It's not rushing in, kind of all guns blazing, as it were. It's like taking things slowly and delicately. And then as well as that, Jupiter is actually stationary today. So, which in some ways amplifies the energy of Jupiter, but it may delay the development of whatever it is we're feeling, these new beginnings that we're creating at this time. And Jupiter will be going retrograde, and it doesn't turn direct again until November, and it only moves into Aries in December. So it's like there may be a period of time where things are being put into place, where it's almost like we're laying a foundation, creating a solid foundation, because it's such strong, fiery energy that we also have to sort of somehow direct the fire as well. And I know there've been fires all over the world. And in fact, there was one quite near where I am in Italy. And that was an interesting occurrence as well, in that although it was about half an hour away, little pieces of ash were blown into my apartment, even though it was half an hour drive away. And I was actually doing a colour and astrology session for somebody, an in-person session, and my neighbour called up and told me, you know, said, you must close your windows, bring in your washing. And so I did those things, and then realised there was this fire, then came back to the reading, and I realised that the next bottle to talk about in this session, in the consultation, was fire. So I found that really interesting. So it's like really highlighting the importance of fire. So, you know, fire is magical. It's inspiration, it's passion, it's reinvigorating, you know, what it is that that we would like to do, really, you know, our passions, our desires. And so it's a wonderful energy, and it's also quite superhuman as well. And it can bring in the energy of miracles too. So for instance, this fire, which took place about half an hour from where I am here, was in some senses a little bit of a miracle, in that it was a very serious fire. It took the firefighters and the helicopters really several hours to bring the fire under control, but it was stopped just at the walls of the town. So that the buildings were all intact. And apparently also, initially, there were no vineyards or olive fields affected. And then I think the wind changed, and maybe there were one or two that were affected. But even so, there was a bit of a miracle surrounding it, in that it could have been so much worse. And so I feel at this time, we can use our magical abilities. You know, we can use our will, our power, our minds to change what it is that's happening. You know, we can work with the elements. And so I think it's about really reclaiming that ability and that confidence in ourselves that we can do that. And it's like stepping into that power and energy, and that's what we're being called to do, and that's what we're being shown that we can do at this time. So I'm going to show you, this is the bottle that was made for the 8/8, and it's one of the specials in the colour mirror system. And you can see it's got this gorgeous orange on top and then platinum underneath. And so this brings in the energy of joy, of bliss. Also, it's magical because of the orange, and the platinum brings in a very cosmic energy, and it's about us being able to lift our energy beyond what is going on a 3D level, and you know what we see going on around us, and perhaps what we're being told through the news. And so it's about being able to distance ourselves from that and almost lift ourselves into another world. However, in the orange there can be some shock, and so it's also about using this orange to help us process any disturbance or shock, or in a way inability to process what's going on as well. And you know, for many of us, we've been having to in a way hold this energy over quite a prolonged period of time, and so it can become almost like a bit of a strain having to do this. And so I think this corridor of time that we're living through at the moment, we can use it to help support us and empower us and rejuvenate us again, to really be able to lift our energy. So the other thing that's going to be very strong at the end of the month, 31st of July, 1st of August, although it's very much building up at the moment, is a conjunction between Mars and Uranus and the North Node. And so this, it's quite dynamic energy, but it's also a little unpredictable. It's a little bit volatile, and it's already building up. Uranus is very slowly making the journey through Taurus. So in a way, Mars reaching Uranus is a bit like a trigger point. It's activating this energy. So there could be some events which seem triggering or seem surprising. I'm going to show you the Mars bottle in the Colour Mirrors system is this one. This is number 9. So it also represents a completion on something, but and it's also inviting us to draw on this red energy. So it's inviting us to be grounded, to summon up our power, our confidence, our will, our fighting spirit, if you like. And red is also connected with the spine and the backbone. So it's like calling us to have a backbone. And so we may find ourselves, it may sort of seem as if suddenly we're in more of a fight than we were before. You know, it's almost like maybe the stakes are higher, or events happen that make it clear to us that this really is a bit like a fight for humanity. So we're being called to up our game with this conjunction between Mars and Uranus and the North Node. It's a time to connect to the earth as well, and to also focus on our stability, our groundedness, and almost like getting our life in order as well. It's like maybe in the past we've managed to live life in a certain way, but perhaps now we need to perhaps be a little bit more structured and to think things through. It's also very much about being more independent in terms of food and energy, and seeing what changes we can make in terms of how we live our lives and what we value as well. So then, moving into the Aquarius full moon, this is, the energy is a little tense actually at this full moon. So it's 12th of August, 2:36 in the morning. So we have moon in Aquarius, and it's moving towards Saturn, opposite the Leo, as would always be, well, opposite the sun in Leo, as would always be the case at a full moon. And it's in square to Uranus. So there's a sort of push-pull energy between, you know, moon in Aquarius, which is such a free spirit. And also it's like the people, the moon is the people. So the people are raising their vibration. The people are awakening in Aquarius. The people are looking at things in a different way. However, this moon in Aquarius is moving towards Saturn. So there's almost this tendency perhaps to try and put everyone back in the box again, or, you know, prevent, perhaps sabotage, mislead, confuse, so that this awakening doesn't quite happen in the way that we would want. But it's so dynamic, this full moon, that I think we will see changes, we will see news, and it could be really very, very dynamic. And what we're being asked to do is to bring our energy into the sun in Leo. So this is the energy of being in the heart. It's also like being big-hearted. There's a generosity with the sun in Leo. It's like, however we may have been treated in the past, we can be magnanimous. I know I haven't pronounced that right, but with the sun in Leo, it's about bringing in that generosity, and that it's like a kind of largesse of spirit. And this is what will help carry us through on a collective level. And having faith in the power of the human spirit as well, and the resilience. So it's in fixed signs, so there's a lot of resilience with this as well. So as you can see, it's a very dynamic, exciting time. And because of that, I think it's a call for us to take care and look after our energies. You know, the Uranus energy, if we're not conscious of it, it can perhaps almost like take us by surprise. So it could result in maybe like accidents or something like that. It's like so the energy needs to be directed very consciously for us to really reap the rewards of this time. So if you'd like to find out more, you can look on my website, which is amandabradbury.com. And thank you for listening.